In this tutorial, we're going to use Adobe Illustrator CC 2020 to go through Classroom in a Book, Chapter 11, which is all about gradients, blends, and patterns, and we're going to be creating this jellyfish. So let's go ahead and grab that start file, do a file save as, first initial last name, underscore Adobe Illustrator, Classroom in a Book, Chapter 11, jellyfish, and go ahead and save. All right, so in this one, we're going to go ahead and make sure that we are all working in the same workspace. So let's go Window, Workspace, and let's reset Essentials so we're all in the same place. All right, so a gradient is what we're going to work with quite a bit. It's a graduated fill between two or more colors. It includes a start color and an end color. They can be linear, radial, so linear being line, radial being circles, freeform, which is kind of unique to Illustrator. You can kind of change them around. If you're interested, you can look at the book. There's quite a bit of information about gradients and how they work. So for today, let's go ahead and grab our selection tool, grab these yellow legs, and we're going to go ahead and start here. So let's click that fill box. And with that fill box, let's go ahead and choose that black and white gradients, the third one from the end on the third row. And let's go ahead and leave our swatches showing. So with that fill box, let's go ahead and click the gradient options here at the bottom. We're going to get a couple of different things we can play with here. Move that up a little bit. So what we're going to do is we want to change the color. So let's grab this one on the right, the black, and double click it. And let's go ahead and put in a color. So we're going to switch to the palette. Let's make cyan 1. We're going to do tab, magenta is 97, tab, yellow 21, and black is 0. So we're going to get kind of a nice pink color. So we're going to go ahead and click in a blank area up here and hide that color panel. So let's go ahead and grab the white one as well. Double click here and let's change that to be the dark purple, which is on the third row. Let's go ahead and switch to swatches. And it's the second from the right, so dark purple. So we're getting a nice gradient there, kind of a pink to purple range. Go ahead and click back up here. Now let's go in our gradient panel. Let's go ahead and right here next to the swatch itself, we have a down arrow. In the bottom of there, we get kind of a add to swatches button. Kind of looks like an inbox. Let's go ahead and click that and it'll go ahead and add that to our swatches. Now let's go ahead and close that gradient panel for a minute. Now with that jellyfish shape still selected, let's grab that fill box and let's grab to our swatches option. And if you now know here, we can see we've got that new gradient swatch 1. Let's double click it so we can actually name it Jelly 1 and give it a real name and say OK. All right, we can also, when we're looking at our gradients menu, we can look at a few different options. Let's go ahead and look here at our Show Swatch Kinds menu, and you can actually just do gradient swatches, so you can see just those that you have available here. So you just want to, if you've got a lot showing, it does give you the ability to kind of pull those down a little bit. Let's go ahead and do a Control S and save what we've got so far. And we're going to go ahead and play with these legs a little bit more. So let's go ahead and double click on those legs so we can isolation mode, enter isolation mode, Control plus and zoom in a few times. And now we're going to go ahead and edit that gradient. So we're going to go over to the properties panel and hit edit gradient. And we're going to go ahead and get this line here. You can see this line kind of looks like it doesn't do much, but it actually does. Let's go ahead and click our gradient tool. And if you get this plus sign, you can see you can change how that gradient is laying into that shape itself. So we want to go ahead and, it's not too bad. Let's go ahead and, what do we want to do? You can always go above here, get kind of that rotate, kind of rotate it that way. Now we can also go into our gradient panel, go into our more options, and let's go ahead and make that angle at an 80. Did it make it 80? Looks a little weird. Yeah, it's 80. All right, so let's go ahead and object and lock selection so we can't accidentally mess those up. And let's go ahead and do escape in order to get out of that isolation mode. Now we're going to go ahead and add a linear gradient to a stroke. So let's do our view, fit artboard and window. And we want to go ahead and grab this kind of orange squiggle right here. Now applying it to a stroke is a little bit different than applying to a fill. So we were still applying to a fill before. So we've got this. Let's zoom in just a little bit. All right, so let's go to window and gradient. Open up that panel for us. Slide that over here a little bit. And we want to apply that gradient across the stroke. So we want to make sure that we've got it selected and make sure we're on our stroke itself. So let's go ahead and switch to our stroke. And let's go ahead and switch that to our, make it the jellyfish one. And let's go ahead and choose that third one over, that apply gradient across stroke. So you can kind of see it's changing from one color to another. So we had to, you don't get these options unless you're working with the stroke itself. So it kind of gives it kind of a dimensional appearance. So we're going to go ahead now and add another color stop. So let's go ahead and click kind of here in the middle, go right under, add a new color stop. Let's double click and let's make it pink. So we're going to choose kind of the pink in here. So it's the fourth row and the third one in, no, fourth one in. So we've got kind of a different colored pink going right there. And with that color stop still selected, you can tell where it is. You can change that location to exactly 50%. So I clicked in just about the right place. If you clicked in the wrong place, you can always go here and say 50%. So it's going to create that midpoint right there. Now you can also copy a color stop. So I'm going to go ahead and Alt or Option and click that color slider and move it over to here. So now I've got another color kind of in my color gradient here. Now maybe I'm going to decide, hey, I don't really like this pink right here. So I'm going to grab that pink and just drag it straight off. So I've got different ways of playing with those color stops and making this. Oop, I made it really close. So made it really strong. And I'm pretty happy with that one the way it is right now. So let's go ahead and click out and do a Control S and save. And yes, go ahead and continue. So let's go ahead and do a view, fit artboard and window. And we're going to go ahead and change this pink background into more of a gradient to make it a water. So let's grab our selection tool and go ahead and select that pink. Now we're going to go to our fill and change that to that black and white gradient. It's not going to say black and white, but kind of just lets us know that we're going to go into the gradient mode. Let's go ahead and escape to close that swatches panel. Let's go ahead and choose the radial gradient, which is the second one in. So it'll actually be going from the inside out. And let's go ahead and grab the, let's go to the gradient tool itself. And now let's go ahead and in the gradient tool, we want to get this reverse gradient. So it's going to actually flip it so that we have our dark should be in, let's do flipping the stroke, not the, there we go. There we go. And flip that to radial. Nope, we wanted it dark. All right, so we want a dark middle and a light outside. Now, rather than have this be black, let's double click it, and you can tell it's a radial gradient because it's got this kind of circle around it. Let's double click that one. Now let's double click it here and make it light blue. So let's go ahead and come in here. It says light blue. And let's go ahead on the, oh, we're going to leave it white as well. All right, we'll go ahead and click out and close that. Let's go ahead and escape to hide that swatches panel, and let's do a Control-. to kind of come out. Now, if we go ahead, we can double click on this one as well. You're going to see that we get the radial, and let's go ahead and make that dark blue. So dark blue is about the 4th from the end. All right, and let's go ahead and change that location to about 45%. Yeah, let's go ahead and add another one. Oh, yeah, let's add another color stop right here. All right, so we're gonna make this one dark blue. Let's go ahead and Alt and copy that one as well and make that one the white. Okay, now let's go ahead and make this one location should be about 45. And I don't love that. Let's move this over there. Move it off. I'm just not happy with that altogether. I'm just gonna go ahead and take that white off. And move this to about half. I'm happier with that. All right, so now I've got kind of a gentle gradient. Let's go ahead and hit our selection tool, do a Control S, and save what we've got so far. So now we're going to go ahead and adjust that radial gradient. So with that gradient tool, we're going to go ahead and select that. And we're going to go ahead and go to the top part of the left corner, and we're going to drag towards. So we're actually going to change the way that gradient is laying in there. So you can kind of see how we are able to adjust that. You can kind of see how you can adjust the sliders, adjust those colors of how what that is going to look like. So I'm going to do a Control minus and zoom out just a little bit. So we can actually take this and move this one a little bit smaller. And let's go ahead and grab it. Undo. And let's go ahead, Control plus. And I need to be able to grab this. I'm going to go ahead and bring it up a little bit. So you kind of see how you can lay in that just very subtly depending on how you want it to appear. Now I can go ahead and change the aspect ratio of that as well. So let's go ahead. You can always change these guys if you go on here. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and change that size here to about 80. Nope, not 8/80. And it's gonna go ahead and give me a different look and feel. And we're gonna